This is Ron DeSantis, Governor DeSantis on his. And by the way, if any of you are in Florida, I hope you're doing fine. I hope you're not underwater. Hope you haven't lost too much of your stuff. And I hope you are not about to get involved in a 3-year fight with an insurance company over whether your flooded house counts as flooded. But luckily, this storm, Hurricane Milton, was not the worst case scenario. It ended up being Category 3. Still, people died. People will continue to die because a lot of people die after hurricanes because they go out in flood waters. They try and fix power lines or whatever. So certainly it's not nothing. And anyway, here is Ron DeSantis giving his press conference. I'm just going to analyze some of what he's saying.
Underway throughout the night, state search and rescue teams report at least 48 individuals have been rescued as of 0630. National Guard search and rescue teams have worked overnight and successfully executed rescues of families and pets on the West Coast and from the destruction of the tornadoes.
Okay. So you're sending out a lot of government resources in order to go rescue people. Ron DeSantis, Mr. Republican, of course, and most of his views are the same as, say, Donald Trump or something. When these people rescue, when whatever government resource, whichever one goes and rescues these people, do they charge them immediately? Do they say, this will be as we get you out of this tree, it's gonna be $1,000. As we get you out of this tree, it's gonna be $5,000. Or do they just do it for free because that's how a society should work? Is that what? So it's kind of like I don't know. We'll just make up a word like kind of socialist attributes where the government is funded by other means, whether it be tax dollars, whether it be modern monetary theory, whatever, funded by other means. And you go and you help people and you don't even give them a bill when you pluck them out of a tree, when you find them floating down a river and you say, you just do it. You just do it because what? What is it, DeSantis? Why would you do that? Oh, just because it's moral or it's right to help people in a society when you have the ability to help people? Is that what's going on? Because I'm pretty sure you were opposed to that. I'm pretty sure that the other 364 days a year when there's not a hurricane over someone's head, you and pretty much everyone else, including the Democrats in the federal government, don't give a shit about people who are struggling, about people who are maybe drowning, about people whose lives are destroyed, about people whose houses are washed away when the bank steals them. Yeah, visually it looks a little different. In one regard, you see a house drift away. In another regard, a cop and a bank show up and kick you out of the house. End result, the same. You got no house. Your life's destroyed. Your kids may be traumatized. Often it leads to divorce when you have horrible situations like that. None of that we're going to come in and help. We don't. In fact, we're going to facilitate the reverse. We're going to facilitate the destruction, the stealing of your house with the banks. We're not going to help at all. But if it's a hurricane, that's different. Okay, that will help. And here's Ron DeSantis, Mr. Republican, telling you how many things the government has done to help people.
In the central and eastern parts of Florida, the Guard continues to work into the morning and have 31 rescue aircraft operational and hundreds of rescuers engaged in over 125 active missions in 26 different counties. Over 6,500 soldiers are deployed.
In the corner, there's a sign language person for those who are hard of hearing. And I was unaware that Governor DeSantis cared about disabled people. Well, why would you put that on there? It's disabled people need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, even if they don't have any legs. That's what they need to do. So why would you put the sign language on the screen? I thought you were all against helping disabled people, helping people who are poor or struggling or have mental health problems, or you're also opposed to declaring the climate crisis exists. So I don't understand why Ron DeSantis is acting like this actually happened. It would just make a lot more sense for him to spend the day sitting at home reading a book. What hurricane? Because if you don't believe climate change is happening, then you shouldn't believe this hurricane's happening. You shouldn't believe that these hurricanes that are going way later into the season, that are ramping up to Category 5 way faster than they used to, that are much larger than they used to be, they're the size of goddamn Florida now. You shouldn't believe any of that exists. So I don't understand why he's standing here. I don't even know what he's talking about. What hurricane?
Throughout the state, Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission has made land and water rescues in Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Pasco County. The State Guard has also been engaged in search and rescue, assisting with floodwater evacuations as well as damage assessments. There are currently 3.1 million accounts without power. There have been 635,000 restorations since Hurricane Milton hit Florida. The areas that have the most significant outages as of this morning are Hillsborough, 75% out, Hardy, 97% out.
And the state is working to give people power back. It's kind of offensive to be just sucking off the teat of state resources like that, isn't it? Like, I think you just leave the power out, because that's the more, self-sufficient way to be.
This morning is likely assess the damage and then begin restoration operations very quickly. And we appreciate everybody that's in that fight, because that's very important for a lot of people. Cut and toss have begun at First Light by the Florida Department of Transportation. 328 crews are active in the field with over 350 pieces of heavy equipment and trucks. 150 bridge inspectors were dispatched at First Light.
Bridge inspectors? All right, this is really getting offensive now. So you're telling me that the government is sending people out to decide whether our bridges are okay? That is, I do not want big government involved in my bridges. Get them out of here. I don't want them deciding if the bridges are okay. Well, you're also talking about regulation, which, deciding whether a bridge is built correctly or has problems, or this is regulation, right? This is government regulation. This is a government coming in and deciding whether a bridge is fit to have cars on it. This is all just antithetical to everything these guys are supposed to believe. I mean, the regulation is offensive. And in so many other areas of life in that state across the country, but let's talk about that state for a minute, they have succeeded in getting rid of regulations, such as what's called red tide a few years ago. That was horrific. That covered all the beaches on the west coast of Florida, and dead fish, and was toxic, and you couldn't go swimming in it. But even people that just lived within a few blocks of the beach could get headaches and could feel ill from this horrible toxic algae bloom. Well, what caused that? Well, a big percentage of it has to do with all of the runoff that's allowed to go into the ocean, mainly runoff from big ag, mainly runoff from these massive farms where they have loads of pollution that they then pump into the ocean. And if you are a right-wing state like Florida, although a lot of states have this problem, if you're a right-wing state like Florida, you say, yeah, go ahead, pump it all into the ocean. Who cares? We don't want any of those regulators telling us that you can't dump whatever the fucking you want into the ocean. Just go for it. And so they just dump all this big farm, big ag runoff, and it creates these algae blooms that are toxic, horrific, kill wildlife, create ocean dead zones. Just so bad for everything. They're even bad for Florida tourism. But no, that's all right to not have any regulation. All right, good to hear it. But here he is talking about bridge regulation. He's talking about people coming and telling us whether our bridges are fit. What's the difference? What's the difference? The only difference is that this was caused by a hurricane, and therefore he gets a chance to walk out there and act like he's being a really bold leader and protecting people. And so it's useful to his image. Whereas standing up against big ag is not, he'd be going against his donations, which he doesn't want that. Big bridge is not really a big donor to his election, so he doesn't have to worry about stepping on their toes. But you regulate big ag, and that could hurt all the millions he has pumping in.